Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
The predicating information, the information we had, which was alleging a Russian offer of assistance to a member of the Trump campaign, was of extraordinary significance. It was credible. It was from an extraordinarily sensitive and credible source. And as we looked at what that represented, the key time was obviously coming into the election. And so for us, there was absolutely a need to, one, this was a serious allegation, two, of extraordinary gravity, and three, given the fact that the election was upon us and that if, in fact, then candidate Trump were elected, that whether he or certainly more likely or possibly members of his campaign were actively working with the Russians, we needed to get to the bottom of that. It could be that none of them were. It could be that some, or it could be on a far worse scale, but the urgency for us to understand what was going on in advance of the election and certainly in advance of any inauguration, I can't overstate the importance of that.
So, was Peter Strzok telling the truth yesterday? Was he telling the truth that they had credible information ahead of the election, that Russia was interfering in our elections, and that they were decidedly pro-Trump, and that they were aiding and abetting Trump's campaign and perhaps in communication with various people in the Trump campaign? Was he telling the truth?
Today, a grand jury in the District of Columbia returned an indictment presented by the Special Counsel's Office. The indictment charges 12 Russian military officers by name for conspiring to interfere with the 2016 presidential election. 11 of the defendants are charged with conspiring to hack into computers, steal documents, and release those documents with the intent to interfere in the election. One of those defendants and a 12th Russian military officer are charged with conspiring to infiltrate computers of organizations involved in administering elections, including state boards of election, secretaries of state, and companies that supply software used to administer elections.
Welcome to Florida.
According to the allegations in the indictment, the defendants worked for 2 units of the main intelligence directorate of the Russian General Staff, known as the GRU. The units engaged in active cyber operations to interfere in the 2016 presidential election. There was one unit that engaged in active cyber operations by stealing information, and a different unit that was responsible for disseminating the stolen information. The defendants used 2 techniques to steal information. First, they used a scheme known as spear phishing, which involves sending misleading email messages and tricking the users into disclosing their passwords and security information. Second, the defendants hacked into computer networks and installed malicious software that allowed them to spy on users and capture keystrokes, take screenshots, and exfiltrate or remove data from those computers. The defendants accessed email accounts of volunteers and employees of a U.S. presidential campaign, including the campaign chairman, starting in March of 2016. They also hacked into the computer networks of a congressional campaign committee and a national political committee. The defendants covertly monitored the computers, implanted hundreds of files containing malicious computer code, and stole emails and other documents. The conspirators created fictitious online personas, including DC Leaks and Guccifer 2.0, and they used those personas to release information, including thousands of stolen emails and other documents, beginning in June of 2016. The defendants falsely claimed that DC Leaks was a group of American hackers and that Guccifer 2.0 was a lone Romanian hacker. In fact, both were created and controlled by the Russian GRU.
Malcolm Nance was right. of all the crazy people that were tweeting and going, Malcolm Nance had this all right from the beginning, and so did we. And I have to tell you that this indictment was written so that we could all understand it. This indictment was briefed to the president as well before he went on his chaotic mess of a disaster European tour. So the whole time that the president is over in Europe, he has known that the DOJ, the FBI, our counterintelligence, agencies were all correct when they said that Russia interfered with active measures into our elections and told the president of the United States exactly how that was done, dates, times, places, names of various people who participated, who were colonels, captains, in the Russian GRU, in the Russian intelligence community, at the behest of Vladimir Putin. And the president is still calling it this morning a witch hunt. He's still freaking doing this. This is sick because this now means that the president of the United States is covering for Vladimir Putin. I'm going to read this indictment, but not the whole. I won't read the legalese part. I'm just going to read the part that was obviously written to be read by American citizens. And the fact that this came out on a Friday, right after Strzok testified, and prior to the president leaving for Europe to brief him, should not be lost on anybody. The president really does need to cancel this meeting with Vladimir Putin simply because the president knows, and now today, the American people know, that Vladimir Putin is an enemy of the United States. That Vladimir Putin is a man who is trying to undo the democratic way of life in democratic countries, especially here in the United States, and that Donald Trump now knows it. We know he knows it. He was briefed about it before he left. That's another thing. Rosenstein said that very, very, very clearly. Okay? Very clearly.
The special counsel's investigation is ongoing, and there will be no comments by the special counsel at this time. Assistant Attorney General John Demers is here with me today because we intend to transition responsibility for this indictment to the Justice Department's National Security Division while we await the apprehension of the defendants. Principal Associate Deputy Attorney General Ed O'Callaghan is also with me, and he's been assisting in managing the special counsel investigation. I want to caution you, the people who speculate about federal investigations usually do not know all of the relevant facts. We do not try cases on television or in congressional hearings. Most anonymous leaks are not from the government officials who are actually conducting these investigations. We follow the rule of law, which means that we follow procedures and we reserve judgment. We complete our investigations and we evaluate all of the relevant evidence before we reach any conclusion. That is how the American people expect their Department of Justice to operate, and that is how our department is going to operate. In our justice system, everyone who's charged with a crime is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. It should go without saying the people who are not charged with a crime also are presumed innocent. The indictment was returned today because prosecutors determined that the evidence was sufficient to present these allegations to a federal grand jury. Our analysis is based solely on the facts, the law, and Department of Justice policies. I briefed President Trump about these allegations earlier this week. The president is fully aware of the department's actions today.
The president knew this earlier this week, and yet,
Mr. President, you have spent the week taking on NATO allies, criticizing Prime Minister May on her own soil. And I wonder if, are you giving Russian President Vladimir Putin the upper hand heading into your talks, given that you are challenging these alliances that he seeks to break up and destroy?
See, that's such dishonest reporting because, of course, it happens to be NBC, which is possibly worse than CNN. Possibly. Let me explain something. We have left NATO with more money, with more unity, with more spirit than NATO probably has ever had. We have a strong and powerful NATO. When I became president, we didn't. We had people that weren't paying their bills. We had people that were way down. We had people that weren't following their commitments.
That's not true.
In addition to that, we become an oil exporter, which would not have happened under the past regime or a new regime if it weren't us. We have built up our military, $700 billion, and then next year, as you know, $716 billion. When you look at what we've done in terms of Russia, I guarantee whoever it is in Russia, they're saying, oh, gee, do we wish that Trump was not the victor in that election. We have been far tougher on Russia than anybody, and probably than... Look, I'm not going to go down 100 years, but certainly we have been extremely tough on Russia, including the fact that when the prime minister called, when they had a horrible thing happen right here, very close by, she asked, would I do something, and maybe I'd let you tell the number, and it was far greater than anybody else, including the prime minister. We expelled how many people? 60. 60. And Germany did 3, as an example. So Germany, big country, powerful country, they did 3.
He's insane. This man is insane, okay? I think we should break because then I want to actually read this indictment for you so that you can see exactly what is and isn't in here. It seems to me from reading this that what I suspected from the beginning, as far as this being charged as a RICO Act violation, a racketeer-influenced corrupt organization conspiracy act, this seems to me to be coming out in batches, and that's how you would expect a RICO violation to come out. First, they did Russian individuals in St. Petersburg, right? The trolls and all the people that were... This one has to do with the Russian government itself, with Vladimir Putin himself, what he ordered, who carried it out. These are colonels, these are captains, these are lieutenant colonels in the Russian military. It seems to be coming out in batches. So, yeah, I think this is it.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Well, it's going to be an interesting time in the UK, and it's certainly going to be an interesting time with NATO. NATO has not treated us fairly, but I think we'll work something out. We pay far too much, and they pay far too little. But we will work it out, and all countries will be happy. In the UK, that's a situation that's been going on for a long time. So I have NATO, I have the UK, which is in somewhat turmoil, and I have Putin. Frankly, Putin may be the easiest of them all. Who would think? Who would think? I really can't say right now. As far as I'm concerned, a competitor. It's a competitor. I think that getting along with Russia, getting along with China, getting along with others is a good thing, not a bad thing. I've said that many times for many years. So we'll see. We're meeting with Vladimir Putin on Monday. We'll see how that goes.
He has to be, an agent. He has to be working with Vladimir Putin. He has to be. Because here he is saying that, Russia is a competitor and they're not an adversary. They're not an enemy. And, of course, this indictment makes it clear that Vladimir Putin ordered his intelligence community to do these things, to hack, disseminate, to coordinate, to plant story. Okay, I'm going to read you the indictment. Okay, this is count 1. And like I said, this is written beautifully. This is written so easy that everybody can understand it. So, conspiracy to commit an offense against the United States. That is the count one. That is the charge, okay? In or around 2016, the Russian Federation, Russia, operated a military intelligence agency called the Main Intelligence Directorate of the General Staff, GRU. The GRU had multiple units, including Units 26-165 and Unit 744-55, engaged in cyber operations that involved the staged releases of documents stolen through computer intrusions. These units conducted large-scale cyber operations to interfere with the 2016 U.S. presidential election. They go through all the names of the defendants, okay? Victor, I'll just read it one time. Victor Brosevich, Nichenko, Boris Alexeyevich, Antonov, Dmitry Sergeyevich Badin, Ivan Sergeyevich Yermakov, Alexei Viktorovich Lukashev, Sergei Alexandrovich Morgachev, Nikolai Yurchev, Kozacek, Pavel Vershov, Antram Androvich Maleshev, Alexander Vladimirovich Asaduchk, and Alexei Alexandrovich Potemkin were GRU officers who knowingly and intentionally conspired with each other and with persons known and unknown to the grand jury. That means there's more indictments coming, and some of the people have not been presented yet in indictment form to the grand jury. Okay. Intentionally conspired with each other and with persons known and unknown to the grand jury, collectively the conspirators, to gain unauthorized access to hack into the computers of U.S. persons and entities involved in the 2016 U.S. presidential election, steal documents from these computers, and stage releases of the stolen documents to interfere with the 2016 U.S. presidential elections. Starting in March 2016, the conspirators used a variety of means to hack the email accounts of volunteers and employees of the U.S. presidential campaign of Hillary Clinton, the Clinton campaign, including the email account of the Clinton campaign's chairman. That would be Podesta. By in or around April 2016, the conspirators also hacked into the computer networks of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, the DCCC, and the Democratic National Committee, the DNC. The conspirators covertly monitored the computers of dozens of DCCC and DNC employees, implanted hundreds of files containing malicious computer code, malware, and stole emails and other documents from the DCCC and DNC. By in or around April 2016, the conspirators began to plan the release of materials stolen from the Clinton campaign, DCCC, and DNC. Beginning in or around June 2016, now this is when the FBI counterintelligence people, this is when Strzok, this is when Comey, this is when they begin this investigation into Russian interference. This has nothing to do with the dossier. Beginning in or around June 2016, the conspirators staged and released tens of thousands of the stolen emails and documents. They did so using fictitious online personas, including, but remember, not limited to. They're just giving you examples here, and they only give two examples here. DC Leaks and Guccifer 2.0. Those are Russian government accounts, okay? The conspirators also used the Guccifer 2.0 persona to release additional stolen documents through a website maintained by an organization, Organization 1. Well, one, I would guess, is WikiLeaks, that had previously posted documents stolen from U.S. persons, entities, and the U.S. government. So I'm going to assume that Organization 1 is WikiLeaks. The conspirators continued their U.S. election interference operation through in or around November 2016, right up to Election Day and beyond. To hide their connections to Russia and the Russian government, the conspirators used false identities and made false statements about their identities. To further avoid detection, the conspirators used a network of computers located across the world, including in the United States. Yeah. And paid for this infrastructure using cryptocurrency. I've read through this, so I'm going to tell you that some of the computers were located in places like Illinois and places like Arizona. Okay, here are the defendants. Victor, I'll just call him by his first name. Victor was the Russian military officer in command of Unit 26165, located at 20 Kaminsky Prospect, Moscow, Russia. Unit 26165 had primary responsibility for hacking the DCCC and DNC, as well as the email accounts of individuals affiliated with the Clinton campaign. Defendant Boris was a major in the Russian military assigned to Unit 26165. Boris Antonov, oversaw a department within Unit 26165 dedicated to targeting military, political, governmental, and non-governmental organizations using spear phishing emails and other computer intrusive activity. Okay, so spear phishing, you know what that is? They mimic like your Gmail page, your Google page, your sign-in page, and it looks real, but it isn't. It's spoofing, it's a spoof of, and they say you must change your password. This is how they got Podesta. Podesta thought it was an official Google account that needed a password reset. He clicked on it. He reset his password. Now the Russians have it. This is what he's always said. This is what we've known for a long time. It's now in the indictment. Okay. So this guy, Boris Antonov, held the title of head of department. In or around 2016, Antonov supervised other co-conspirators who targeted the DCCC, DNC, and individuals affiliated with the Clinton campaign. Defendant Dmitry Badin, was a Russian military officer assigned to Unit 26165, who held the title assistant head of department. In or around 2016, Badin, along with Antonov, supervised other co-conspirators who targeted the DCCC, DNC, and individuals associated with the Clinton campaign. Defendant Yermakov was a Russian military officer assigned to Antonov's department within Unit 26165. Since in or around 2010, Yermakov used various online personas, including Kate S. Milton, James McMorgans, and Karen W. Millen, to conduct hacking operations on behalf of Unit 26165. In or around March 2016, Yermakov participated in hacking of at least 2 email accounts from which campaign-related documents were released through DC Leaks. In or around May 2016, Yermakov also participated in hacking the DNC email server and stealing DNC emails that were later released through Organization One, which I'm guessing is WikiLeaks. Defendant Alexei Lukashev was a senior lieutenant in the Russian military assigned to Antonov's department within Unit 26165. Lukashev used various online personas, including Den Kattenberg, Yuliana Martrinova. In or around 2016, Lukashev was spear phishing emails to members of the Clinton campaign and affiliated individuals, including the chairman of the Clinton campaign. Defendant Sergei Morgachev was a lieutenant colonel in the Russian military assigned to Unit 26165. Morgachev oversaw a department within Unit 26165 dedicated to developing and managing malware, including a hacking tool used by the GRU known as X-Agent. During the hacking of the DCCC and DNC networks, Morgachev supervised the co-conspirators who developed and monitored the X-Agent malware implanted on those computers. Defendant Nikolai Kozacek was a lieutenant captain in the Russian military assigned to Morgachev's department within Unit 26165. Kozacek used a variety of monikers, including Kazakh and blah, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5. Kozacek developed, customized, and monitored X-agent malware used to hack the DCCC and DNC networks beginning in or around April 2016. Defendant Pavel Yershkov was a Russian military officer assigned to Morgachev's department within Unit 26165. In or around 2016, Yershkov assisted Kozacek and other co-conspirators in testing and customizing X-agent malware before actual deployment and use. Defendant Artem Malyshev, a second lieutenant in the Russian military assigned to Morgachev's department, Unit 26165, Malyshev used a variety of monikers, including Dejang. It's a jumble of letters. Dejang, Magladev, and Real Blader. In or around 2016, Malyshev monitored X-agent malware, implanted it on the DCCC and DNC networks. Defendant Alexander Osachuk was a colonel in the Russian military and the commanding officer of Unit 74455. Unit 74455 was located at 22 Korova Street, Moscow, a building referred to within the GRU as the Tower. Man in the High Tower. Unit 74455 assisted in the release of stolen documents through the DC leaks and Guccifer 2.0 persona, the promotion of those releases, and the publication of anti-Clinton content on social media accounts operated by the GRU, operated by the KGB, operated by the Russian government. Defendant Alexei Potemkin was an officer in the Russian military assigned to Unit 74455. Potemkin was a supervisor in the department within the unit responsible for the administration of computer infrastructure and cyber operations. Infrastructure and social media accounts administered by Potemkin's department were used, among other things, to assist in the release of stolen documents through the DC leaks and Guccifer 2.0 persona. Object of the conspiracy. The object of the conspiracy was to hack into the computers of U.S. persons and entities involved in the 2016 U.S. presidential election, steal documents from those computers, and stage releases of stolen documents to interfere with the 2016 U.S. presidential election. All right. Then they go through the spear phishing operations. And the reason why this is important is because they spear phished many more people than we were previously aware of. And Antonov, Badin, Yermakov, and Lukashev and their co-conspirators targeted victims using a technique known as spear phishing to steal victims' passwords or otherwise gain access to their computer. Beginning by at least March 2016, the conspirators, the Russian government, these lieutenants, these colonels, these majors, these captains in the Russian intelligence community, targeted over 300 individuals affiliated with the Clinton campaign, DCCC, and DNC. For example, on or around March 19th, 2016, Lukachev and his co-conspirators created and sent a spear phishing email to the chairman of the Clinton campaign. Lukachev used the account John356GH at an online service that abbreviated lengthy website addresses referred to as a URL shortening service. Tiny URL, you know? Lukachev used the account to mask a link contained in the spear phishing email, which directed the recipient to a GRU-created website. Lukachev altered the appearance of the sender email address in order to make it look like the email was a security notification from Google, a technique known as spoofing, that instructs the user to change his password by clicking on the embedded link. Those instructions were followed. On or about March 21st, 2016, Lukachev, Yermakov, and their co-conspirators stole the contents of the chairman's email account, which consisted of over 50,000 emails. Stealing on or about March 29, 2016, Lukachev and his co-conspirators sent spear phishing emails to the personal accounts of other individuals affiliated with the Clinton campaign, including its campaign manager and a senior foreign policy advisor. On or about March 25, 2016, Lukachev used the same John 356GH account to mask additional links, including in spear phishing emails sent to numerous individuals affiliated with the Clinton campaign, including victims 1 and 2. Lukachev sent these emails from the Russian-based email account, and they name it, that he spoofed to appear to be from Google. On or about March 28th, 2016, Yermakov researched the names of victims 1 and 2 and their association with Clinton on various social media sites. Through their spear phishing operations, Lukachev, Yermakov, and their co-conspirators successfully stole email credentials and thousands of emails from numerous individuals affiliated with the Clinton campaign. Many of these stolen emails, including those from victim 1 and 2, were later released by the conspirators through DC Leaks. On or about April 6th, 2016, the conspirators created an email account in the name with a one-letter deviation from the spelling of a known member of the Clinton campaign. The conspirators then used that account to send spear phishing emails to the work accounts of more than 30 different Clinton campaign employees. In the spear phishing emails, Lukachev and his co-conspirators embedded a link purporting to direct the recipient to a document titled Hillary Clinton Favorable Ratings.xlsx. In fact, this link directed the recipient's computers to a GRU-created website. So it directed them right to Vladimir Putin. The conspirators spear-phished individuals affiliated with the Clinton campaign throughout the summer of 2016. For example, on or about July 27th, 2016, the conspirators attempted after hours to spear-phish for the first time email accounts at a domain hosted by a third-party provider and used by Clinton's personnel office. At around the same time, they also targeted 76 email addresses at the domain for the Clinton campaign. This is much more far-reaching than you think it was. And you know what's really disgusting is that once they were able to get into these employees and these volunteers for the Clinton campaign and these high-ranking officials from the Clinton campaign and the DCCC and the DNC itself, they were able to actually watch the keystrokes and take screenshots of their computers and the strategy and all the things that were going on and defeat it and be one step ahead. Beginning in or around March 2016, the conspirators, in addition to their spear phishing efforts, researched the DCCC and DNC computer networks to identify technical specifications and vulnerabilities. They ran a technical query for the DNC's internal protocol configurations to identify any devices connected to it. On or about the same day, they searched for open source information about the DNC network, the Democratic Party, and Hillary Clinton. And on or about April 7th, 2016, they ran a technical query for the DCCC's Internet Protocol configurations to identify connected devices. So they're doing it on their phone. They're getting everything. By in or around April 2016, within days of Yermakov's searches regarding the DCCC, the conspirators hacked into the DCCC computer network. Once they gained access, they installed and managed different types of malware to explore the DCCC network and steal their data. On or about April 12, 2016, the conspirators used the stolen credentials of a DCCC employee, DCCC employee 1, to access the DCCC network. DCCC employee 1 had received a spear phishing email from the conspirators on or about April 6th and entered her password by clicking the link. Between in or around April 2016 and June 2016, the conspirators installed multiple versions of their X-Agent malware on at least 10 DCCC computers, which allowed them to monitor individual employees' computer activity, steal their passwords, and maintain access to the DCCC network. Ex-agent malware implanted on the DCCC network transmitted information from the victim's computers to a GRU leased server located in Arizona. The conspirators referred to this server as their AMS panel. Kozacek, Malchev, and their co-conspirators logged into the AMS panel to use ex-agents' keying and screenshot functions in the course of monitoring and surveilling activity on the DCCC computers. The keylog function allowed the co-conspirators to capture keystrokes entered by DCCC employees, which would give everybody passwords, okay? The keystrokes would, show their login information, username and password. We all are familiar with that. So they would see the keystrokes. But also the screenshot function allowed the conspirators to take pictures of the DCCC employees' computer screens. For example, on or about April 14th, 2016, the conspirators repeatedly activated ex-agents' keylog and screenshot functions to surveil DCCC employee one's computer activity over the course of 8 hours. During that time, conspirators captured DCCC employees' communication with coworkers, the passwords she entered while working on fundraising and voter outreach projects. Similarly, on or about April 22nd, 2016, the conspirators activated ex-agents' keylog and screenshot functions to capture the discussions of another DCCC employee, number 2, about the DCCC's finances, as well as her individual banking information and other personal topics. On or about April 19, 2016, Kozacek and Yershov and their co-conspirators remotely configured an overseas computer to relay communications between ex-agent malware and the AMS panel, and then tested ex-agent's ability to connect to this computer. The conspirators referred to this computer as a middle server. The middle server acted as a proxy to obscure the connection between malware at DCCC and conspirators' AMS panel. On or about April 20th, 2016, the conspirators directed ex-agent malware on the DCCC computers to connect to this middle server and receive directions from conspirators. Now, so that's the DCCC. That's pretty much, fundraising, logistics. That's Congress members, really. Hacking into the DNC, the National Committee. On or about April 18th, 2016, the conspirators hacked into the DNC's computer through their access to the DCCC network. The conspirators then installed and managed different types of malware, as they did on the DCCC network, to explore the DNC network and steal documents. On or about April 18, 2016, the conspirators activated ex-agents' keylog and screenshot functions to steal credentials of DCCC employee who was authorized to access the DNC network. The conspirators hacked into the DNC network from the DCCC network using the stolen credentials. In or around June 2016, they gained access to approximately 33 DNC computers. In or around April 2016, the conspirators installed ex-agent malware on the DNC network, including the same versions installed on the DCCC network. Malchev and his co-conspirators monitored the ex-agent malware from the AMS panel and captured data from the victims' computers. The AMS panel collected thousands of keylog and screenshot results from the DCCC and DNC computers, such as a screenshot and keystroke capture of DCCC employee 2 viewing DCCC's online banking information. The conspirators searched for and identified computers within the DCCC and DNC networks that stored information related to the 2016 presidential election. For example, on or about April 15, the conspirators searched one hacked DCCC computer for terms that included Hillary, Cruz, and Trump. The conspirators also copied select DCCC folders, including Benghazi investigations. The conspirators targeted computers containing information such as Oppo research and field operations plans for the 2016 elections to enable them to steal a large number of documents at once without detection. The conspirators used a publicly available tool to gather and compress multiple documents on the DCCC and DNC networks. Like to make something, how you make something into a PDF, you can do that with a clip. I mean, that's what he's talking about. The conspirators then used other GRU malware known as X-Tunnel to remove the stolen documents outside the DCCC and DNC networks through encrypted channels. For example, on or about April 22nd, 2016, the conspirators compressed gigabytes of data from DNC computers, including Oppo Research. The conspirators later removed the compressed DNC data using X-Tunnel and leaked it to a GRU leased computer located in Illinois. On or about April 28, 2016, the conspirators connected to and tested the same computer located in Illinois, which means there are operatives in Illinois. Later that day, the conspirators used X-Tunnel to connect that computer to steal additional documents from the DCCC network. Between on or about May 25th, 2016 and June 1st, 2016, the conspirators hacked the DNC Microsoft Exchange server and stole thousands of emails from the work accounts of the DNC employees. During that time, Yermakov researched PowerShell commands related to accessing and managing the Microsoft Exchange server. On or about May 30th, 2016, Malyashev accessed the AMS panel in order to upgrade custom AMS software on the server, and that day, the AMS panel received updates from approximately 13 different X-Agent malware implants on DCCC and DNC computers. During the hacking of the DCC and the DNC networks, the co-conspirators covered their tracks by intentionally deleting logs and computer files. For example, on or about May 13th, 2016, the conspirators cleared the event logs from a DNC computer. On or about June 20th, 2016, conspirators deleted logs from the AMS panel that documented their activities on the panel, including login history. So they deleted the history, basically, for those of us who are, just click and go people. Okay. This is really sick. Despite the conspirators' efforts to hide their activity beginning in and around May 2016, both the DCCC and the DNC became aware that they had been hacked. And they hired a security company, Company One, to identify the extent of the intrusions. By in or around June 2016, Company One took steps to exclude intruders from the networks. Despite these efforts, a Linux-based version of X-Agent programmed to communicate with the GRU, the Russian intelligence registered domain, remained on the DNC network until October 2016. In response to Company One's efforts, the conspirators took countermeasures to maintain their access to the DCCC and DNC networks. On or about May 31st, 2016, Yermakov searched for open source information about Company One and its reporting on X-Agent and X-Tunnel. On or about June 1st, 2016, the conspirators attempted to delete traces of their presence on the DCCC network using the computer program CC Cleaner. On or about June 14, 2016, the co-conspirators registered the domain, this is going to upset a lot of us, actblues.com. You know ActBlue, which is the fundraising political platform for the Democrats, ActBlue. They put it up there as ActBlues with an S at the end. So it was actblues.com, which mimicked ActBlue's domain. It mimicked the domain of a political fundraising platform that included the DCCC donation page. So now it would see all your information if you ever gave a nickel to ActBlue, which I have. Shortly thereafter, the conspirators used stolen DCCC credentials to modify the DCCC website and redirect visitors from ActBlue to actblues.com. On or about June. Now, how many of you, when you click and go to make the, how many of you are actually checking the URL to make sure it's not a slash away or one letter away from where you, I mean, it's going to look just like where you think you're supposed to be going, right? It's going to look right, but it isn't. It's Russian military. Russian intelligence. On or about June 20th, 2016, after Company 1 had disabled X agent on the DCCC network, the conspirators spent over 7 hours unsuccessfully trying to connect to X agent. They also tried to access the DCCC network using previously stolen credentials. In or around September 2016, the conspirators also successfully gained access to DNC computers hosted on a third-party cloud computing service. These computers test applications related to DNC analytics. After conducting reconnaissance, the conspirators gathered data by creating backups and snapshots of the DNC's cloud-based systems using cloud providers' own technology. Then they moved the snapshots to cloud-based accounts that they had registered with the same service, stealing the data from the DNC. Stolen documents released through DC Leaks. More than a month before the release of any documents, the conspirators constructed the online persona DC Leaks to release and publicize stolen election-related documents. On or about April 19, 2016, after attempting to register the domain electionleaks.com, the conspirators registered the domain dcleaks.com through a service that gave them anonymity. The funds used to pay for dcleaks.com's domain originated from an account at an online cryptocurrency service that conspirators used to fund the lease of a virtual private server, a VPN, registered with the operational email account, and they give the account at mail.com. The email account was also used to register the John365GH URL, shortening the account used by Lukashev to spearfish the Clinton campaign chairman and other campaign-related individuals. On or about June 8th, the conspirators launched the public website DC Leaks, which they used to release stolen emails. Before it shut down, in or around March 2017, the site received over 1 million page views. The conspirators falsely claimed on the site that DC Leaks was started by a group of American hacktivists, when in fact it was started by Russian intelligence. Starting in or around June 2016 and continuing through the 2016 U.S. presidential election, the conspirators in DC Leaks continued to release emails stolen from individuals affiliated with the Clinton campaign. The conspirators also released documents they had stolen in other spear phishing operations, including those that they had conducted in 2015 that collected emails from individuals affiliated with the Republican Party. Isn't that something? So they have information on the Republican Party, too. They only chose to release the Hillary stuff. But maybe this explains why Congress just rolls over and plays dead, why Congress blamed Strzok yesterday for being alarmed and for saying we need to open up a counterintelligence investigation back in the day. Yeah, they have information on the GOP, too. And that was also something that had been reported before. And I kept telling you, no, it's not just the DNC. They hacked the GOP, too, and they did, the Republican Party. On or about June 8th, and at approximately the same time that the DC Leaks website was launched, the conspirators created a DC Leaks Facebook page using a pre-existing social media account under the fictitious name Alice Donovan. In addition to the DC Leaks Facebook page, the conspirators used other social media accounts in the name of fictitious U.S. persons such as Jason Scott, Richard Gingrey, to promote DC Leaks and their website. The conspirators accessed these accounts from computers managed by Potemkin and his co-conspirators. On or about June 8th, 2016, they created the Twitter account at DC Leaks. The conspirators operated at DC Leaks, the Twitter account, from the same computer used for other efforts to interfere in the 2016 presidential election. For example, the conspirators used the same computer to operate the Twitter account at Baltimore WHR, through which they encouraged U.S. audiences to join our flash mob opposing Clinton and to post images with the hashtag Blacks Against Hillary. this is being this is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there's so much more in here, okay? And struck yesterday, they decided to attack him. Trump, he attacks everybody except for Vladimir Putin, who literally is in charge of this, who's literally organizing his intelligence services, lieutenants and commanders and generals and captains, and to literally take screenshots of Hillary Clinton's campaign and the DCCC and the DNC and also the GOP, but only release the Hillary stuff and to talk about the strategy of how to release it, when to release it, where to release. And idiots, American idiots, I don't want to be an American idiot, are retweeting this crap. Junior's retweeting it. Trump's retweeting it.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
In addition to releasing documents directly to the public, the defendants transferred stolen documents to another organization that is not identified by name in the indictment, and they used that organization as a pass-through to release the documents. They discussed the timing of the release in an attempt to enhance the impact on the election. In an effort to conceal their connections to Russia, the defendants used a network of computers around the world, and they paid for it using cryptocurrencies. The conspirators corresponded with several Americans during the course of the conspiracy through the internet. There's no allegation in this indictment that the Americans knew they were corresponding with Russian intelligence officers. In a second related conspiracy, Russian GRU officers hacked the website of a state election board and stole information about 500,000 voters. They also hacked into computers of a company that supplied software used to verify voter registration information. They targeted state and local officials responsible for administering elections, and they sent spear phishing emails to people involved in administering elections, including attaching malicious software. Now, the indictment includes 11 criminal allegations and a forfeiture allegation. Count 1 charges 11 defendants for conspiring to access computers without authorization and to damage those computers in connection with efforts to interfere with the presidential election. Counts 2 through 9 charge those 11 defendants with aggravated identity theft by employing the usernames and passwords of victims in order to commit computer fraud. Count 10 charges those 11 defendants with money laundering for transferring cryptocurrencies through a web of transactions in order to purchase computer servers, register domains, and make other payments in furtherance of their hacking activities while trying to conceal their connections to Russia. Count 11 charges 2 defendants for a separate conspiracy to access computers without authorization and to damage those computers in connection with efforts to infiltrate computers used to administer elections. Finally, the indictment seeks the forfeiture of property involved in the criminal activity.
So, was Strzok telling the truth yesterday?
The predicating information, the information we had, which was alleging a Russian offer of assistance to a member of the Trump campaign, was of extraordinary significance. It was credible. It was from an extraordinarily sensitive and credible source. And as we looked at what that represented, the key time was obviously coming into the election. And so for us, there was absolutely a need to, 1, this was a serious allegation, 2, of extraordinary gravity, and 3, given the fact that the election was upon us and that if, in fact, then candidate Trump were elected, that whether he or certainly more likely or possibly members of his campaign were actively working with the Russians, we needed to get to the bottom of that. It could be that none of them were. It could be that some, or it could be on a far worse scale, but the urgency for us to understand what was going on in advance of the election and certainly in advance of any inauguration, I can't overstate the importance of that.
Was he telling the truth? Yes, he was telling the truth. And these Republicans sat there yesterday and tried to make him a bad person when the bad person is Vladimir Putin and the people that took these stolen documents and disseminated them across Facebook, across Twitter, across, social media platforms far and wide. In this indictment, it actually says that between June 2016 and October 2016, the conspirators, the Russian intelligence operatives who were tasked to do this by Vladimir Putin, used Guccifer 2.0 to release the documents through WordPress that they had stolen from the DCCC and the DNC. And the conspirators posing as Guccifer 2.0 also shared stolen documents with certain individuals who are not named in this indictment. And here's a really creepy little thing. On or about August 15th, 2016, the conspirators posing as Guccifer 2.0 received a request for stolen documents from a candidate for the U.S. Congress. I don't know who that is. A request for the stolen documents. Somebody who was a candidate for the Congress. The conspirators responded through Guccifer 2.0's persona and sent the candidate stolen documents related to the candidate's opponent. On or about August 22nd, the conspirators posing as Guccifer 2.0 transferred approximately 2.5 gigabytes of data stolen from the DCCC to a then registered state lobbyist. And an online source of political news. The stolen data included donor records and personal identifying information for more than 2,000 Democratic donors. On or about August 22nd, 2016, the conspirators posing as Guccifer 2.0 sent a reporter stolen documents pertaining to the Black Lives Matter movement. The reporter responded by discussing with what is Russian intelligence operatives when to release the documents and offering to write an article about their release. Now, that person, I think, we've pretty much honed in on who that is. That has got to be Lee Stranahan from Breitbart, who now works for Sputnik. And we know that because Malcolm Nance tweeted out from a bogus thing, the Next News Network that right-wingers always use to argue with me. All of the tweets that went on Lee Stranahan's account. And when we could put it on the screen. Well, no, you can't put this computer on, can you? But it doesn't matter. On August 22nd, that day that's mentioned in this particular indictment, on August 22nd, Guccifer says to Lee Stranahan, "Hi, are the documents of any use for you?" at 10:58 a.m. And Lee Stranahan says, yes, especially the Black Lives Matter one. And Guccifer says, what you gonna do with them? And Lee Stranahan says, I would like to do a story on the Black Lives Matter document. Can we arrange for you to post that document on your site at a certain time? That's at 2:53 in the afternoon. The next day, hi, man, I think it's possible. Why not? Is it some special date? And Lee Stranahan says, hey, yes, let's figure out what that date should be. Guccifer, any suggestions? He says, Tell me when works best for you. We can work with your release schedule. Just let me know. When can you release that Black Lives Matter document? Then nothing for 2 days. Then, hi there, this is Guccifer. I'm going to post Black Lives Matter doc along with some other files tomorrow or next day. Lee Stranahan says, okay, when you have a firmer idea, give me the heads up because I will write the story to go along with the release. Guccifer, okay, how about doing it today? Lee Stranahan, okay, what time? It's about 9 a.m. where I am in Idaho. And I'd like about 8 hours to get things set up on this end. Is that okay? The next day. So if you need, Guccifer, so if you need some certain time, just let me know and we'll arrange it. Lee Stranahan, okay, let me work on this end and I will ping you back tomorrow morning or in the middle of the night or something might actually work better. Guccifer, is it so important when I post it? I can do it now and you can publish your material when you want. Is that necessary that I post it in a certain hour? So I think it's time. I mean, obviously, this guy knows he's talking to somebody across the world because the time difference, right? He said, so I think it's time. So Lee Stranahan says on the 31st, hang on, late night. Then Guccifer says, hi, Lee. Some guys dug deep into the doc files and found some interesting info on the turnout model for the Democrats' entire presidential campaign. They think this info cost them millions of dollars. And then he tweets it to him. And then Guccifer says, if you need other docs, let me know. And Lee says, I saw this. It's great. I'm having trouble with my company right now, so let me figure this out the right way to break this. Guccifer says, okay, no problem. Then on October 17th, he writes to Guccifer. He says, hey, have you seen the people saying that you are Fancy Bear? This has gotten crazy. No response. He writes back 2 hours later. Hi. Want to do an interview? No response. That's the end of the chain. The indictment says the conspirators posing as Guccifer 2.0 also communicated with U.S. persons about the release of stolen documents. U.S. persons. U.S. persons.
I am going to give a major speech on probably Monday of next week, and we're going to be discussing all of the things that have taken place with the Clintons. I think you're going to find it very informative and very, very interesting. I wonder if the press will want to attend. Who knows?
The conspirators posing as Guccifer 2.0 also communicated with U.S. persons about the release of stolen documents. On or about August 15, the conspirators posing as Guccifer 2.0 wrote to a person who was in regular contact with senior members of the presidential campaign of Donald J. Trump. Quote, thank you for writing back. Did you find anything interesting in the documents I posted? On or about August 17, 2016, the conspirators added, quote, please tell me if I can help you anyhow. It would be a great pleasure to me. On or about September 9th, 2016, the conspirators, again posting as Guccifer 2.0, referred to stolen DCCC documents posted online and asked the person, what do you think of the info on the turnout model for the Democrats' entire presidential campaign?
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Yeah, Jonathan Beale from BBC. I just wonder, you think you're going to get along with President Putin at that meeting? Could you just tell us, why do you think that? Is there something you admire about him? And the second question, because you're just about to go to the UK.
Well, he's a competitor. He's been very nice to me the times I've met him. I've been nice to him. He's a competitor. You know, somebody was saying, is he an enemy? He's not my enemy. Is he a friend? No, I don't know him well enough.
Oh, my God.
But the couple of times that I've gotten to meet him, we got along very well. You saw that. I hope we get along well. I think we get along well. But ultimately, he's a competitor. He's representing Russia. I'm representing the United States. So, in a sense, we're competitors. Not a question of friend or enemy. He's not my enemy. And hopefully someday maybe he'll be a friend. It could happen. But I just don't know him very well. I've met him a couple of times. And when I did meet him, most of you people were there.
He's a very sick man. He is a very, very sick man. This is obviously, this indictment shows that not just the individuals in St. Petersburg who were trolls, okay, who were, pretending to be American citizens, but that the Russian government itself, the intelligence, the GRU, the Russian, which used to be the KGB, and Vladimir Putin used to be the head of it, were so active in hacking, stealing, taking screenshots. They knew the entire operation of Hillary. They understood the turnout model. They understood the donors. And you had people at Breitbart, for God's sake, who were talking to Guccifer 2.0, who was a Russian intelligence officer, and saying, could you post the Black Lives Matter stuff? I want to do a story, and going back and forth over weeks and days. And Donald Trump standing at the podium saying he was going to have dirt on Hillary Clinton and that the press really needs to attend because it's going to be amazing. And then, right after the Trump Tower meeting, he stands up and says, Russia, if you're listening. What number is that? Oh, there it is. I see it.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
I mean, come on. This is crazy. And I really didn't understand the rewarded mightily by our press part until just now, because now that I read the indictment, I see that they were giving these documents to people in touch with senior Trump campaign officials. They had a meeting in New York, right? They said they had dirt on Hillary Clinton in June. They're pretending that happened in a vacuum. Now we know it didn't. Now we know that the DNC, the DCCC knew way back in April and May that they had been hacked. We understand that Trump, knew that they had all this information. And I suspect this person that says, where Guccifer is communicating, we know the reporter. I think I know the reporter. I think it's Lee Stranahan from Breitbart who's writing back and forth to Guccifer. But then when Guccifer 2.0, which is Russian intelligence, we now know, is communicating with an unnamed person in this report, saying, please tell me if I can help you anyhow. It would be a great pleasure to me. Thank you for writing back. Did you find anything interesting about the docs I posted on August 17th? This person, who is identified in this report as somebody who is in regular contact with senior Trump campaign officials, that has to be Roger Stone. And the person responds pretty standard. But he received the stolen documents on the Hillary Clinton ground game, on how Hillary Clinton's campaign intended to get turnout up. So they knew exactly how to suppress the vote. They had voter information. They had hacked into not just, this is worse than I thought. I mean, I knew that they had hacked, and we all knew, you knew, because I told you, that they had hacked into voter registration rolls. We knew that in more than 20 states. That was, somehow gotten to the mainstream media. They were able to publish that information. But now we know it was on such a molecular level. We know that they also hacked county supervisors. We also know that they had registration information on at least 500,000 voters. And what's so fascinating is Trump didn't even win the popular vote by 500,000. He lost by 3 million, which means that they knew where to target individuals for this anti-Clinton voter suppression effort. They knew exactly whose computer to get into. Then they say on June 27th, 2016, that posing as Guccifer 2.0, the conspirators, the Russian intelligence operators, contacted a U.S. reporter with an offer to provide stolen emails from Hillary Clinton's staff. The conspirators then sent the reporter the password to access a non-public, password-protected portion of DCLeaks.com containing emails stolen from Victim 1 by Lukashev and Yermakov and their co-conspirators around March of 2016. On January 12th, 2017, this is after the election, it's still going on. The conspirators published a statement on the Guccifer 2.0 WordPress blog, falsely claiming that the intrusions and release of stolen documents had totally no relation to the Russian government. And the right-wing lunatics pass this all around. And they keep saying there's no evidence that it impacted the election. Are you freaking kidding me? June 22nd, they sent a private message to Guccifer 2.0, Organization 1 did, I'm guessing that's WikiLeaks, to, quote, send any new material stolen from the DNC here for us to review, and it will have a much higher impact than anything you are doing. July 6th, they say, Organization 1 does, which I'm guessing is WikiLeaks, quote, if you have anything Hillary related, we want it in the next 2 days, preferable because the DNC, the Democratic National Convention, is approaching, and she will solidify Bernie supporters behind her. The conspirators responded to this Organization 1, who I guess is WikiLeaks. Okay, I see. Organization 1, which I'm guessing is WikiLeaks, explained, quote, we think Trump only has a 25% chance of winning against Hillary. So conflict between Bernie and Hillary is interesting. And this is when we get the email about Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Bernie. And right ahead of the Republican National Convention and right after the Trump Tower meeting is when
I am going to give a major speech on probably Monday of next week, and we're going to be discussing all of the things that have taken place with the Clintons. I think you're going to find it very informative and very, very interesting.
And why so randomly?
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
So on July 22nd, Organization 1 released over 20,000 emails and other documents stolen from the DNC by the Russian intelligence conspirators. This release occurred 3 days before the start of the Democratic National Convention. Organization 1, I'm just going to say, WikiLeaks did not disclose Guccifer's 2.0's role in providing them. You know, WikiLeaks gives it, we never say the source, we never say, but they're talking to each other. The latest in-time email released through Organization 1 was dated on or about May 25th, 2016, approximately the same day the conspirators hacked the DNC Microsoft Exchange server. On October 7th, Organization 1 released the first set of emails from the chairman of the Clinton campaign. That was the Podesta emails that had been stolen by Lukashev and his co-conspirators. And on October 7th and, on or about October 7th and November 7th, WikiLeaks released approximately 33 tranches of documents that had been stolen from the chairman of the Clinton campaign. In total, over 50,000 stolen documents were released. This is not a hoax, everybody. If this is a witch hunt, we just caught some witches. What we did. And that dog and pony show yesterday, that show trial yesterday, that McCarthy hearing yesterday, that was GOP members of the House, Congress members who know they've been hacked too, just trying to blame Strzok, who knew all this, or at least knew a lot of it, and never leaked it. Never used it to derail Donald Trump. Never, ever. And that is an argument you can't defeat. As hard as the Republicans tried yesterday, as ridiculous as they looked yesterday, it's because they can't defeat the argument that Strzok and Comey and others in the counterintelligence division of the FBI understood what was going on all throughout this and never leaked a word of it. And if they had, it would have killed Donald Trump's chances. And they didn't. So this thing, you know, the American people will stop Trump. No, we'll stop it, meaning the American people will stop. He never did one official act to derail Donald Trump, did he? No. So this is just unbelievable. This indictment is sick, okay? It's sick. Here is Rosenstein trying very hard to talk to the Cult 45 members today, trying very hard to talk to the members of the House who ran this ridiculous McCarthyite hearing yesterday.
When we confront foreign interference in American elections, it's important for us to avoid thinking politically as Republicans or Democrats, and instead to think patriotically as Americans. Our response must not depend on which side was victimized. The internet allows foreign adversaries to attack America in new and unexpected ways. Free and fair elections are always hard fought and contentious. There will always be adversaries who seek to exacerbate our divisions and try to confuse, divide, and conquer us. So long as we are united in our commitment to the values enshrined in the Constitution, they will not succeed. The partisan warfare, fueled by modern technology, does not fairly reflect the grace, dignity, and unity of the American people. The blame for election interference belongs to the criminals who committed election interference. We need to work together to hold the perpetrators accountable, and we need to keep moving forward to preserve our values, protect against future interference, and defend America. I have time to take a few questions.
General Rosenstein, quick question for you, sir. Number one, the timing today on the eve of the president's meeting with Putin, can you talk about that? And also, just today, the president described the Mueller investigation as a witch hunt. Your response.
The timing, as I mentioned, is a function of the collection of the facts, the evidence, and the law, and a determination that it was sufficient to present the indictment at this time. As I mentioned, I did brief the president. With regard to the nature of the investigation, I only comment on the evidence. The evidence that is reflected in our indictments and in our charges represents a determination by prosecutors and agents without regard to politics that we believe the evidence is sufficient to justify the charges.
Carrie? Yes, Deputy Attorney General, I know you've talked about the fact that, in your view, the evidence doesn't show any votes were changed as a result of this hacking. But you did say that a company used as a pass-through coordinated with these defendants to enhance the timing of the release and the impact on the election. Can you talk a little bit about what the evidence you have shows in that respect?
So what I've talked about today is what is alleged in the indictment. We know that, according to the allegations in the indictment, the goal of the conspirators was to have an impact in the election. Mm-hmm. What impact they may have had,
we don't know.
What their motivation may have been independently of what's required to prove this offense is a matter of speculation. That's not our responsibility. What I said is there's no allegation in the indictment about it, and that's not our charge.
In terms of the state election information, you said about 500,000 voters information was collected. Is there any evidence that what the Russians did with that information? And is there any evidence of other states being successfully penetrated by the Russians?
I think that it's important for you to understand what I've told you are the allegations that are included in the indictment. The FBI and other intelligence community agencies are working constantly to defend against cyber attacks in the United States. This case is just about one particular effort. that was made during the 2016 election. The efforts of our department, of the Department of Homeland Security, of other federal agencies, and of all of the state election boards throughout the country are ongoing. And those efforts preceded this indictment, and they're going to post-date this indictment. So we have continued to share any relevant intelligence with all of our partners. It would take a longer time to talk about this, but there is a concerted and organized effort by the federal government to make sure that we do deter and prevent any sort of cyber attacks on our elections, and that we harden our election systems to prevent against any kind of intrusions.
Yeah, and the president has done zero to help or to acknowledge or to encourage. I mean, the president today, he said it was still a witch hunt. Today, he was briefed earlier this week before he left to go to NATO. And he's still saying Vladimir Putin would be the easiest meeting I have. And he's not my enemy. Maybe he is a friend. I don't know. I mean, he's a competitor as well. No, he's an enemy of the United States. He attacked the United States. He impacted our elections. And what Rosenstein says there is the FBI and the special prosecutor, Robert Mueller, was not charged with having to calculate what the impact was. That is not their wheelhouse. They're just there to expose how, who, what, when, and why the Russians inserted themselves into the 2016 election with active measures.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Imagine you're on the other team. You're a Russian KG or FSB agent, and you want to run an influence operation in the United States. Take us through a few of the steps that you might have that you would consider.
Yeah, the first thing you do is you seed accounts in social media, seed players, operatives, political parties, NGOs, groups like that into the U.S. audience space. You align with them based on interest, financial being a big one, information being another one, common issues like America first. That's great for Russia because if America puts America first and the world second, Russia can then ascend on the world stage. Over time, you just cultivate those relationships, and the end goal is a behavior change in your target audience. We saw this happen last week. We saw senators go over to Russia and literally repeat the lines that Russia would want them to say. Sanctions aren't working. Maybe we shouldn't pursue these. Or everybody does influence and meddling. Senator Shelby, he essentially repeated a line that you will hear come out of the Kremlin. That is the behavior change they want. And the thing we don't realize with active measures, it's boiling the frog. It's very slow. And the goal is to slowly nudge your target audience, which is the Republican Party in this case, to take on your agenda. We just saw it again yesterday. We saw Republicans in Congress that are attacking another U.S. institution to defend President Trump, who's under investigation from a Russia collusion and obstruction case. This is exactly how active measures plays, which is have your adversary fight with itself so they cannot fight with you and will withdraw on the world stage. And Walter's exactly right. At every single point, with the exception of one, of sanctions, Russia has advanced its goals.
That is so sick and sad, but it's so true, and everybody knows it. That's why, you know, to learn today from Rosenstein that Donald Trump was briefed on these findings, on this indictment, that leads right to Vladimir Putin's office. That his colonels, his commanders, his lieutenant colonels, his majors in his intelligence units were formed with the specific goal of impacting the U.S. 2016 election with a preference for Donald Trump, and that Donald Trump is randomly on the campaign trail saying the whole thing's rigged, and he knows it, and he loves WikiLeaks, and WikiLeaks, he should, I love WikiLeaks. Look, they just dumped some more documents, and hey, Russia, if you're listening, I hope you can find 30,000 other emails. This whole, and the Fox News Network trashing Hillary Clinton and spreading these false rumors on Alex Jones' show and Breitbart. Remember Bannon had a national radio show. He was on Sirius XM the whole time this is going on. And they're retweeting and they're disseminating. And I mean, and Facebook, they stole the identities of millions and millions of people. 500,000 voter registrations, stolen. The ground game to get the vote out from Hillary, stolen way back, like in the summer. And the FBI gets like a credible intelligence that this is going on. And the Hillary Clinton email investigation is all the Republicans care about. And yet we're being attacked in real time. And you've got the counterintelligence unit at the FBI. The deputy assistant is struck. Okay, and no wonder he's tweeting, oh my God, this man could. No wonder he knows this. Clint Watts right there, who you just saw. He's the cybersecurity expert. Okay, this guy was in the food chain, and he knew what was going on, and he was called to testify, and he said a million things about it, without giving away the sources and methods of the investigation. I'm telling you, if this is a witch hunt, we've caught lots of witches. And the president of the United States today still says Vladimir Putin is not my enemy. He's not my enemy. He's a competitor. This is not about building Trump Tower Moscow. This is about democracy, and you are the president of it. How can anybody accept that a country attacked the United States? Why? Because buildings didn't fall down in downtown Manhattan? They have upended our democracy. They have done more damage than those buildings did. 3,000 Americans died in those towers when they fell in a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and at the Pentagon on a crisp September morning in 2001, and everybody reacted. But this happens, with everybody on their social media. This happens to a complete and the whole entire system of government. I mean, they did hack the GOP. They hacked the GOP before they hacked the DNC. And these senators and one of the members of Congress, or at least somebody who was a candidate for Congress, was in touch with Guccifer and was was asking them to send the stolen documents to him or her. I want to know who that bastard is. You want to hunt somebody? Hunt that person. Who was that person? Oh my God.
Trump is, for whatever reason, and I have my own suspicions, certainly, Trump is both enamored and fearful of Vladimir Putin. I mean, if you look at his pattern, he is afraid to say anything critical of Vladimir Putin. It's another issue, but to me, I just think the Russians have the goods on this guy. Duh. And that's the only explanation I can come up with. But in the meantime, we are faced with real damage, real immediate and perhaps some irreparable damage to this greatest of alliances, NATO. And it was fascinating to me today to watch Jens Stoltenberg and Angela Merkel and Macron dealing with Trump. It was like watching psychiatrists patiently deal with a disturbed child. Yep. I mean, Trump, my God, I mean, he's not only shaming our nation, he's doing real damage to our security, to our interests, and to our allies. And Vladimir Putin could not be happier.
I mean, this is what he spent his whole week doing. He spent his whole week. First of all, here's a little factoid, okay? This is for everybody out there that doesn't know this, and you need to. In 2014, okay, when Russia invaded Crimea, President Barack Obama went to NATO and said to NATO, okay, it's happening. Vlad is now invading his neighbors. He invaded Georgia in 2008. Now he's invaded Ukraine. He's annexed Crimea. You guys have to sign this piece of paper. We need for you to up your commitments on what you will spend on your own defense. See, the president makes it seem like NATO is somehow paid for by the United States and that these other countries somehow owe us money because we're footing the bill. I mean, he practically says that, which shows either he's too stupid to understand that NATO doesn't work that way and the United States foots no bill, or he doesn't give a shit. And he wants everybody to think, all his Cult 45 members to think somehow we're paying for something for Europe. That's not how it works. The NATO countries were asked by Barack Obama to increase their own defense spending. That's how NATO works. Okay. And what Barack Obama asked was that the 29 member countries increase their own defense spending by 2% to 2% by 2024. That was back in 2014. And these countries, like Britain, pays more than 2%. Okay. Germany is almost at 2%. They've increased their own defense spending, and they're on track to increase their own defense spending by 80%. Okay. By 2024. So that's how NATO works. It's based on how much do you spend on your own defense. Now, of course, the United States spends a ridiculous amount of money, more than any other of the next 10 countries combined, on our defense, because we're all over the place, okay? We're over here, and we're over there, and we're based in Japan, and we got the Asia Pacific, and we've got bases in Europe, and we got bases in Africa, and we got, right? Okay, so we spend more than the 10 next countries combined because we choose to do that. As far as, what do we shell out to protect Europe? We shell out about $60 billion. Europe, on the other hand, shells out more than $250 billion for their own defense. So they pay much more for their own defense than we do. The president is just so interested in breaking up NATO. Now, why? Why does he want to break up the Western Alliance? Because the Western Alliance is the bulwark against Russia's invasion into other countries near Russia that were part of the Soviet Union. It's now the Russian Federation. It's not the Soviet Union anymore. But when it was, it included Estonia. It included Montenegro. It included Latvia and Lithuania and the Czech Republic and Poland. Okay. And this is why the Western Alliance is hailed as one of the greatest alliances in the history of the universe. Because not only did it help countries that wanted to go democratic leave the Soviet Union and protected them so that they could spread democracy and American values in their own countries and give us an enormous amount of a peace dividend, because it created new trading partners and it created a whole new democratic universe for which we could invoke Article 5, where those people would come and help us like they did after September 11th, the only time Article 5's ever been invoked. But Trump has been instructed to break it up and to make it distrustful of the United States' commitment to defend them against Russian incursion. And places like Estonia have already been cyber attacked by Russia. Russia literally took Estonia off of the grid and withheld its oil and gas imports and tried to choke out the Estonian people. Now, I've been there. That is a beautiful little country. You don't want to lose places like that. But he's been instructed to do this damage. He has, and he's doing it, and nobody knows exactly why. But Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters thinks that the Russians have the goods on our president. And knowing the amount of crap that they hacked and the screenshots that they have, and knowing it was that they had attacked the Republicans too, and that a member of a candidate for Congress was literally talking. I mean, could it be Devin Nunes? I have no earthly idea. Could it be Dana Rohrabacher? I don't know, because they're not named. These indictments, I should say, come out in batches. And this batch had to do with the Russian government. The previous Russian hacking batch had to do with Russian citizens, individuals that were running troll farms in St. Petersburg. This has to do with the government in the tower, which is the intelligence operations of the GRU, the FSB, the KGB, and Vladimir Putin directly.
One of the things that's often said about President Trump is that he attacks people on the very things that he's been attacked on or been criticized for. Talking about Russia, talking about Germany being captive to Russia, the irony of that is kind of extraordinary.
Well, I'm glad you raised that, because one thing Trump is indisputably brilliant at is propaganda. He knows how to control the media. We're talking about him right now. We talk about him virtually every day on the air. And his genius is, using traditional propagandistic techniques where when you are backed into a corner over an issue, you lash out and accuse your enemy or your foe of the same issues. The way he accused, when he's backed in the corner in Russia, he accuses Hillary Clinton of making an uranium deal, which was really peripheral. Now he's backed into the corner over this upcoming summit with Putin. And what does he do? He lashes out at Germany. He says, oh, the Germans, they're worse than us. They're controlled by Russia. Well, first of all, the Nord Stream pipeline under the Baltic is a strategic concern that Angela Merkel inherited from Gerhard Schroeder, a previous chancellor, who was, in fact, Germany's Donald Trump. Yeah. And she's doing her best to deal with it. But Angela Merkel has been the greatest chancellor Germany's had since Konrad Adenauer in the early post-war years. She's the last man standing in Europe. She has held the alliance together against Putin. She's held the sanctions together. And naturally, Trump dislikes her because she's a plain middle-aged woman who talks back to him. And Putin hates her because she's a plain middle-aged woman who talks back to him and imposes sanctions on him.
Exactly. If it wasn't for Angela Merkel, you wouldn't have the NATO countries organized against Vladimir Putin and keeping sanctions on him, because this president is going to go and have a private meeting with no Americans present in the room, which is so unbelievably stupid when he's being looked at as a subject of an investigation into Russian interference and active measures in our election. He wants a private meeting with no... he should bring his generals, whatever happened to his generals, march into Putin's office and say, damn you, you bastard, hands off of America and our elections, and screw you, you are now officially our enemy. We're going to stand with our NATO allies, and we're going to put sanctions on you. You did this. I saw it. It's in black and white. He will not do it. He will not do it because Trump is only good at one thing: getting what's good for Trump. And the sad thing is, he's not a businessman anymore. He's the president of all of us. And he doesn't give a rat's ass about any of us. He only cares about how does he get wealthy? How does he get rich? How does he avoid embarrassment by Vladimir Putin, who obviously has something really terrible on our president. Now here, I have a favor to ask, okay? For everybody that supports this show, every Friday, we post this show for free on Facebook and YouTube and everything. I just want you to share it. Just please share it. Share it, especially on Facebook. They told me I was authorized to do political advertising, and then I was able to send out one little commercial that we made, one beautiful little production piece. And then the next day, I went to send out, maybe you saw my Statue of Liberty commercial that I made. That's beautiful. It's awesome. It's on my Instagram. If you want to see it, Real Randi Rhodes is my Instagram. And then I went to go push that out on Facebook, and they said, you're not authorized. So until they get their crap together, I need you to be the aggregator. I need you to put this show out on Facebook. Everybody needs to know what's in this indictment. Everybody. Now, Monday is going to be our 2-year anniversary, and I really need you to support the show. Thank you. Bye, Stinking Podcast.